This is Jonathan Yates with the Culture of Sports, and we're back on Capitol Hill. This time to talk about great rivalries. It's not the Russians, it's not the Chinese, it's not even the Democrats or the Republicans. It's the most epic of all rivalries, Johns Hopkins University and the University of Maryland in lacrosse. And with us is the perfect member of Congress to discuss that, Representative Dutch Rupertsberger from Maryland. Thank you for being with us, Congressman.
It's good to be here and talk sports, to take a break from all the things that are happening on Capitol Hill right now.
I hear you, and that's what it's going to be all about. So how did you get your start in lacrosse? You hit everything. You played for the University of Maryland. You were on Team USA. How did you get your start in lacrosse?
Well, I've always liked sports from the time I was a little kid. I played rec council baseball, Roland Park Little League it was called. And I was the home run champion, and I was a very fast pitcher. In fact, I have guys come up to me now in my age, late age, said, I was so afraid you threw so fast, I was worried you were going to hit me. But sports had always been a part of my life, and I ended up playing football, and I swam. I was a lifeguard in Ocean City, Maryland, starting at age 15, probably one of the youngest on the Beach Patrol. And then I was a baseball player. I loved playing baseball. But I always wanted to play in the Poly City game. And
that's one of the great rivalries.
It goes back probably early 1900s. And so I wanted to go to City College to play football, and I did. And my football coach was George Young, who became the general manager of the New York Giants and brought 2 Super Bowls. And believe me, when you went to City College and played for George Young, he was tough. You know, you had one bar, you would have to run, you'd have to hit. We even had breakdowns of films in high school, and this was in the mid-60s.
Sure.
So anyhow, went to City. I started out playing quarterback on the JV team, and my coach, the assistant coach, was a guy by the name of Joe Brune, who became the head football coach at Loyola High School when he left City. So George Young said to Joe Brune, he said, they need a lacrosse coach. The lacrosse coach retired, and there's this Lancers Boys Club, which were a Jewish sports club, and they were really good with a stick, but they didn't have many people who hit. So when this Joe Brune, who'd never coached lacrosse and he never played lacrosse, he took over the varsity team, he told his boss, George Young, I need some football players. I need some hitters who play defense. So I got a call in as my first year at City, and here's Mr. Young, big tough guy, and he said, boy, he said, you're going to play lacrosse. I said, lacrosse? I don't even know what lacrosse is. He said, no. He said, that's your spring sport. You're not going to play sissy baseball anymore. Coach, I love baseball. You want to play football for me, boy? I said, yes, sir. So I ended up going to play lacrosse.
Last year on the front page of the New York Times sports section, there was an article about a football player who was able to collect on his insurance policy. I'm Jonathan Yates with the Culture of Sports, and we're here today with John Shriver, a partner with the law firm of Reed Smith, who made that happen. John, thank you for taking the time to be with us today.
Happy to be here, Jonathan.
So can you tell us about that case, what you can?
Yeah, I mean, I can tell you that the details of the settlement, of course, are confidential, but we got a denial letter from an insurance company, despite the fact that the player had suffered a career-ending concussion. The New York Times, diligent as it is, found the complaint that we filed against the insurance company that detailed all that had happened, and they put it on the front page of the paper, and then about 45 days later, the insurance company settled after previously denying coverage. And what was interesting to me about the case is it creates the ultimate catch-22 for what is the most prevalent career-ending football injury that we're seeing today, and that is brain injury from concussions. There are so many concussions, we're learning more and more about them. Well, this player had suffered a concussion and had several concussions, and the insurance company put up a doctor that they paid for to interview him, and the doctor took the position that he wasn't clearly communicating his ideas and his words, and therefore that was consistent with making the whole thing up. And of course, it's also consistent with having a brain injury. And this is going to be the immovable object against the unstoppable force. The biggest injury, the most career-threatening injury is concussions, Insurance companies issue products to insure against the consequence of a career-ending injury, but when it's the most severe, a concussion, they take the position that there's not objective measurements of brain injury of a living person, at least. Of course, we know about CTE and those that have passed and the level of severe brain injury. But on a living person, it's not something that you can X-ray or MRI. So it's what they call subjective, and they stand behind the subjectivity to deny coverage, or at least deny coverage before it makes the newspapers and everybody finds out what a crazy position it is they've taken.
Now, is this disability insurance or loss of value insurance?
Well, this was a disability policy. It was not a loss of value policy, but the point is the insurance industry, which of course is issuing loss of value insurance, is going to take the same position if they have a college athlete who has suffered post-concussion syndrome, concussion, and needs to prove that his loss of value, his lack of draft stature, draftability, or placement in the draft somehow derives from an actual injury. And if the actual injury is a concussion, the player is going to face the same problem collecting from an insurance company, because the insurance company will take the same position that you can't prove that your concussion is actually.
This is Jonathan Yates with the Culture of Sports. We're up in northern Wisconsin for the Epic Rivalry Series, featuring this time St. Norbert College and the University of Wisconsin-Stevens Point. With both athletic directors, I'm going to ask them to introduce themselves, tell us a little about themselves and the school, and then we're going to get into the meat of the rivalry. Tim, since this is your home ice, why don't you tell us about.
Sure. Hi, I'm Tim Bald. I'm the athletic director at St. Norbert College. I've been here for 15 years at St. Norbert. We started in 1898. We have 23 sports here at St. Norbert, and we've had men's ice hockey since about 1994, and women's hockey since about 2007.
Brad?
And I'm Brad Duckworth, the Director of Athletics at the University of Wisconsin-Stevens Point. For once, happy to be in De Pere, Wisconsin at St. Norbert College with my dear friend Tim. At UW-Stevens Point, we just added our 21st sport, women's wrestling. Will start this fall, so we have 21 sports. Our men's hockey started around the same time yours did, and our women's did the same. So kind of the same boat, different animal as a state institution versus a private institution, but deep rivals for sure.
So Tim, how did you guys develop such a great hocky program so quickly? I mean, generally these things take time.
Well, I think it was established as a club program here, and of course we got a pointer to be our coach, really, and that's what happened. I mean, it was Tim Coughlin. He had won a national championship as a player at UW-Stevens Point and as an assistant coach. And I think he just took that blueprint of Coach Mazzolini, and who he was the head coach, and I think he brought that game plan here. It didn't happen overnight. He put in a lot of hard years, but once it started gelling, it took off.
And so Brad, what was the story of Stevens Point that led to the championship?
Well, we were a powerhouse in the early 90s. Played in 5 straight championship games, won 4 of them, won 3 in a row, and then lost one, won another one. But then we went through a little bit of a dry period, and it wasn't until 2016, 2014 and 15, we ran into a really strong team out of De Pere that kept knocking us out. And in 16, we got over the hump and won another, our 5th national championship, and that group has just stayed with it, and we're lucky enough to win it again in 19. So, we've had a long storied tradition, 30 plus years of championship hockey at Stevens Point, and community really rallies around it, and it's a stable of Stevens Point athletics.
Well, what's it like? This is Jonathan Yates with Wine Channel Television. Welcome to Capitol Hill for the bipartisan appeal of wine with Representative Mike Boss from the wine country of Southern Illinois. Representative, thank you for taking the time to be with us.
Thank you for having me on.
Representative, there was a recent article in Forbes that said there was a winery from Illinois, Cooper's Hawk, that is revitalizing the wine and restaurant industry. Does that surprise you?
No, it doesn't surprise me at all. And the reason it doesn't is we created the Illinois Wine Council in 1997. At that time, there was only 4 wineries that existed in the state of Illinois. Now there's about 100, anywhere, in any given day, 120 to 135 wineries because of the Wine Council investment back those years ago. There's a prior to Prohibition, Illinois was the third largest wine producing state. And then it just took a long time to get back to it. Because now understand too that there are a lot of wineries that aren't necessarily, they're Illinois wineries but don't make Illinois wine, they import grapes. But most of them in the South definitely make their own grapes.
And so what grapes are grown in Illinois?
The Chamberson is probably the most common. It's grown in Illinois and it's grown in southern Missouri and southern Indiana.
Can you tell us a little bit about the Chamberson? It's a red grape.
Yeah, the Chamberson's a red grape that is a hybrid, two grapes in Europe. Basically, it was a hybrid so that it would meet and live in that climate where they're growing right now. It is a grape, and if when we're talking to your wine people, the best thing that you can describe it is almost like a Norton, but it's a very identifiable flavor, and you can pick it out, and you either like it or you don't, like any of wines. But there's other grapes. The Norton grape is also grown there, a couple others, but the dominant one is the Chamberson.
So do you see the Chamberson becoming the signature grape of Illinois, like the Pinot Noir is the signature grape of Oregon?
I think it will be, and they're already in competition worldwide and winning a lot of medals. And understand that the four wineries that were first in existence was Winford Winery up in the northern part of the state, and the Winford family had that winery, but they imported all their grapes. The others were Alto Pass Winery, Von Jacob Winery, and then Pomona Winery. Now, Pomona Winery does not make grape wine; only makes wine from the fruits that were not grape in Southern Illinois, apples. He makes peaches, blueberries, strawberry, those type fruit wines. And then, but Alto, it was the original person who started Alto was a guy by the name of Guy Renzaglia. He truly looked like the Italian winemaker. His son is there now, and he truly looks like the Italian winemaker. But it was Guy Renzaglia that came to me as a state legislator and said, if we create the Illinois Wine Council, we can grow this. And then Dr. Paul Jacobs is where Von Jacob came from. And now they make the grapes and they compete worldwide. But now we have multiple wineries around Southern Illinois, and Illinois as a whole.